Okay, where I left off before, we had gone through the paragraph with the ER verbs, ER and IR verbs. Okay, let's talk about some irregular verbs. An irregular verb means that it doesn't follow the rules for normal conjugation, and you just have to memorize irregular verbs. Okay, so Sarah and Star both mean to be, so we're going to talk about those first. I think I can move this up here a little bit. There we go. Okay, so Sarah is to be conjugated soy, eres, es, somos, sois, son. No accents anywhere on here. Ser is irregular. It's going to be irregular every time you see it this year. I think in like the future and conditional tense, it's regular, but every other time, like ser is just wonky. It's like ear, like that. Ser and ear are always irregular. Estar is irregular in the present tense and the preterite tense. It's regular in the imperfect, so it gets a little bit more normal. So it is estoy, estás, está, estamos, estáis, están. Lots of accents here. The way I grade things, if you leave off an accent on a noun, it's a half a point. If you leave off an accent on a verb, it's the entire point wrong. Accents are really important. They tell us how to pronounce things, and it can change the meaning of a word if you're missing an accent or not. Okay, so these translate exactly the same way. So yo estoy and yo soy, I am. Tú eres, tú estás, you are. Usted, él, ella es, usted, él, ella está. You are formal, or he or she is. Estamos and somos, we are. Estáis, or sois and estáis, y'all are. Son and están, y'all are, they are. Okay, but Sarah and Star are not used for the same thing. So they translate the same, but they're used in different circumstances. A generalization is that Sarah is generally used for things that are considered to be permanent, and a star is generally used for things that are temporary or easily changed. We have a couple of acronyms that I'm going to teach you or remind you of that will help you remember when to use Sarah and when to use a star. Another quick way to remember it, to say how you feel or where you are, always use the verb estar. But again, so Sarah, mostly permanent, estar, mostly temporary. So I have two acronyms for you. Sarah is used for the acronym doctor. So that is description, occupation, characteristic, time or date, or event location. Like if I want to say the wedding is at the church, then I would use Sarah. Origin, where something is from, or relationship, how things are related to each other. Like if I want to say it's made of glass, how are glass and this object related to each other? That sort of thing. Okay. Star is used, we use the acronym place. So position, location, those are kind of the same. Action in progress, condition, and emotion. So all of these things, if you notice, all of these things are things that can change pretty quickly. I can change the position of my body. I can change my physical location. I can change the action that I'm in the progress of doing. The condition of something, wet, dry, clean, dirty. Those things are easily changed. Emotion, that changes really easily as well. Whereas these Sayer things are considered to be more permanent. So description, that red book is always going to be red. That occupation, that's what that person does, that is considered to be a permanent thing. It's not easily changed. Characteristic, your personality doesn't change. The time and date, you just use Sarah for. Origin, you're always going to be from a certain place. Like it doesn't matter how many places I move, I'm always going to be from Harrisonville. And relationship, it doesn't matter, like you're always going to be related to people. Okay? Fun fact though, you use Sarah for married and a star for being dead. I don't know, but I think it's interesting. So keeping these in mind, I want you to translate these sentences down below. So I think you have 10 of them. First, I want you to decide Sarah or a star. Make sure you have a reason why that you can give me. Why did you pick each one? And then translate it into Espanol. Okay, I'll leave this up here. Hit pause down below. When you're done translating, hit play, and we will go through the answers. All right, number one. The young men are funny. Los jóvenes son graciosos. So this would be a characteristic. So, son. The main dish is delicious. El plato principal es delicioso. It is, so that is a description. If it is not normally delicious, like let's say that your mom is a really terrible cook and you're like, oh wow, mom, like this is actually really good, then you would use está. She is sick today. That's a condition. Ella está enferma hoy. Mrs. Hake is a Spanish teacher. Señora Hake es una maestra, una profesora de español. That is my occupation. If you are talking about someone and you are using their title, it is appropriate to use the word la, or to use the definite article in front of their title. So like the doctor, el doctor. So if I wanted to talk about Dr. Hoffman, I would call her la doctora Hoffman. Okay, the girls are dancing. That's the present progressive. So you would add ando to the end of bailar. We haven't quite gotten to that in the review. So las chicas están bailando. So that's your action in progress. If I look at them right now, they are dancing. They're from San Jose. Ellos son de San Jose. That is an origin. My sister is red-haired. Mi hermana es pelirroja. That is what she looks like. That is a description. Her long hair is black. Su pelo largo es negro. It's a description as well. Pencils are on the table. Los lápices están en la mesa. That is a position or a location. And the man is behind the woman. El hombre está detrás de la mujer. That would be a position or location. Okay, so estar. If you have any questions about ser and estar, let me know. All right. Tener. Tener is to have. Tener is super irregular. So it is a yo-go verb as well as being a stem changing verb. So the yo form is going to end in go as opposed to the regular o. And then we have a stem change in these three forms. So we don't have the stem change in the o form, so it's extra irregular. Then tienes, tiene, tenemos, tenéis, and tienen. There's one that you have to memorize. If you haven't yet, make sure you do so. Tener is used for some phrases in Spanish that, like, in English we use to be for. And so they're called idioms or tener phrases. So these are things that you need to memorize. Tener hambre is to be hungry. So it's literally to have hunger, but then you don't wake up and you're like, oh man, I have so much hunger. You say I'm hungry. So it's one of those things where you're translating the idea as opposed to a word for word. Okay. They're said to be thirsty. It's literally to have thirst. Hambre and sed are both feminine. So if you're really hungry, it's tener mucha hambre and tener mucha sed. So those are both feminine nouns. Tener calor, to be hot. Tener frío, to be cold. Those are both masculine nouns, calor and frío. So tengo mucho calor, tengo mucho frío. Tener años, to be an age. And tener que with an infinitive, and that is to have to do something. You don't necessarily translate that que. It's just there to show an obligation. Okay. Go away bar. I don't know how to make it go away. It might go away. Tener que is to have to do something. You also use tener with another word, like tener suerte, to be lucky, or tener prisa, to be in a hurry, tener cuidado, to be careful. So tener suerte, to have luck, tener prisa, to have haste, tener cuidado, to have caution. We're going to get to some of those later on, but tener, like I said, in English, we use to be. In Spanish, we use to have. The next one that we're going to talk about is ir. Ir is to go. I didn't put animation on this page, but that's okay. Ir is not an IR verb. It is irregular in all of the forms that you're going to see it until you get into like Spanish 4, Spanish 5, and you get into the conditional and future tenses. It's used the same way in Spanish as it is in English. So it's used to express travel and events in the future. Okay. It is almost always followed by the word a, which means to. And so if you think about it in English, we say, I'm going to. I'm going to the church. I'm going to dance. So in Spanish, whenever you have an infinitive afterwards, even though the infinitive means to do something, it's going to kind of look like I'm going to dance. But we know that in English, we only say one to. Okay? I'm going to dance. But that's just the sentence structure that it has. It is almost always followed by the word a. There are a few exceptions, like ir de compras, ir de pesca, ir de camping, ir de vacaciones. So to go shopping, to go camping, to go fishing, to go on vacation. But those are not nearly as common as the a. Okay. Anytime you have al, it has to make the combination all, or the contraction all. Because al sounds awkward. Like yo voy a el parque. You get that like awkward pause, that awkward break between a and l. So it just, whenever you're speaking at a natural speed, it's going to become al. Yo voy al parque. It sounds so much more smooth than yo voy a el parque, because you have to break. In Spanish, we don't like those breaks, so we just tweak it a little bit. So in the present tense, ir looks like this. Voy, vas, va, vamos, vais, van. It looks kind of like an AR verb. So with these same endings, no accents on ir. You don't get any accents on ir until we get into the imperfect. Then you get a couple. You get one accent. Yeah. But ir, no accents for now. Okay. Let's look at some examples. You have some sentences. Go ahead and translate those sentences into Espanol, and then we will move on. Okay, I'm going to the park. Voy al parque. So again, al. Look at that, I gave you the answers to one. Al makes all. She is going to eat pizza tomorrow. Ella va a comer la pizza mañana. She is going to eat pizza tomorrow. Where are you going? ¿A dónde vas? This is one example where you wouldn't have an a after the form of ir. In Spanish, you're not supposed to you cannot end a sentence with a preposition like to or from or with, right? So whenever that happens, we have to move that to the beginning of the sentence. And that's actually how we should do it in English as well. You should never say like, who are you going with? We should say, with whom are you going? That's proper English. And that's what you have to do in Spanish. Okay, so ¿a dónde vas? To where are you going? Okay, then we are going to speak Spanish. Vamos a hablar español. They are going to the beach. Ellos van a la playa. Okay, you can have ir a, and you can have that combination. Like, I'm going to go to the beach. Voy a ir a la playa. I am going, voy a ir, to go, a la playa. And sometimes that throws people off, but that's perfectly acceptable in Spanish, just like it is in English. Oh, what are you going to do tomorrow? I'm going to go to the mall. Voy a ir al centro comercial. Okay, so don't feel like that is wrong, because it isn't. Okay, I'm going to stop here on this video. And if you have questions, shoot me an email and go ahead and watch the next one. Bye.